the camera or the volume has to be on. They have to be unmuted right now. It was supposed to be participation. Okay, guys, so we are just gonna go through with this. We might not have enough time to finish this in the Zoom meeting, so you guys are just gonna have to go back to the YouTube and watch the video. I'm sorry that the internet is kind of choppy, but we'll try the best we can to get through this, okay? So today we're gonna be looking at the respiratory system, okay? And how the lungs, all the parts of the lungs work together to help us breathe. So first we're gonna start off by labeling a diagram of the respiratory system so you guys kind of get an idea of how everything works. So when you breathe, you inhale. So you take in oxygen into your mouth, okay? So this is your mouth. And then the oxygen goes down to your lungs. And this is your trachea, okay? So it's also called your windpipe. So the oxygen goes in through your mouth, down your trachea. And then to go into your lungs, it branches off, kind of like a tree, okay? And this is called a bronchus. Kind of a funny name. But it breaks off into two. So this basically looks like a tree. If you turn the diagram upside down, it kind of looks like a tree. And then when it goes down your bronchus, this part right here turns into your bronchi. So there's lots of funny names for this. And then your bronchioles, okay? So it goes into your mouth, down your trachea or your windpipe, okay? Into your bronchus, into your bronchi, into your bronchioles, and then right into your lungs. I know everybody's probably heard of the lungs. Probably not all of these funny names like the trachea or the bronchus, but the lungs we all know, okay? So there's this other part under the lungs. It's called your diaphragm. Okay, and today, with the little lung diagram that we make out of the bottle and everything, you're kind of gonna get an idea of how the lungs and the diaphragm work together, okay? So when you take a breath of air in, everybody take a big breath. You take a big breath of air in and you can feel all of the air filling up your lungs, okay? But then there's the part under your lungs called your diaphragm. So when you take a big breath of air, how do you think your diaphragm reacts? So your diaphragm can either move down or move up. Dennis, what do you think? When you take a big breath of air, do you think your diaphragm is moving up in your body or moving down? Yeah. You think it's moving up? Jeremy, what do you think? Taking a big breath of air and feel under your stomach? Try it. A big breath of air. How do you feel your diaphragm moving? Do you think it's moving up or moving down? Okay. So these guys think that your diaphragm is moving up when you take a big breath of air. So we're gonna put that to the test, okay? We're gonna make a diagram of the lungs and we're gonna see, and we're gonna test it out to see if your diaphragm is moving up or moving down, and you can see how those parts work together, okay? So we're gonna start off by taking our bottle, and you're gonna take the lid off your bottle. Dennis, you wanna take your lid off the bottle? And then you're gonna take your scissors and you are gonna cut the bottle about in half, okay? Yeah, watch your fingers, be very careful. If you need help with this part, then don't be afraid to ask somebody. Oh, my Band-Aid. Yeah, on paper. Okay, so we have this right here. So around your lungs, you actually have something called your rib cage, and it protects your lungs. And if you kind of feel in your chest, just above your stomach, you can kind of feel those lungs. You feel your ribs. So you don't actually feel your lungs, you feel your ribs protecting your lungs. Because breathing is such an important thing. We wouldn't survive if we couldn't breathe. So your body has ribs to make sure that your lungs stay safe in there. So now that we have this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the lungs right now. So you're gonna take one of your straws And we are gonna cut one of the straws just kind of a little more than half, okay? So you're gonna have a piece about this size for the lungs. Or sorry, not for the lungs. This is your trachea, it's your windpipe. So we're gonna start off with the windpipe. It's the first part of our little diagram here, or our little model of the lungs. So this is your windpipe. So now what we're gonna do is we are gonna make the bronchus and the bronchi. So we are gonna cut the next straw in half, okay? And then we are gonna cut that 1/2 piece into half as well. So you've got 2 shorter pieces. Okay? So here is your trachea or your windpipe. These are your bronchi, your bronchus, your bronchi, okay? And now what we're gonna do, here, I'll move this off to the side, is we're gonna take, I broke my sticky tack in half, or just a little bit less than half. And we are going to kind of shape this piece into a T, okay?
T?
Yes, into a T, Dennis. So you're gonna shape it like this, like so, okay? So now what we need to do is we need to attach our windpipe to our bronchus and our bronchi, okay? So we gotta make sure all of that is attached. How's everybody doing so far? Good? Perfect. So now we're gonna take that T and we are gonna wrap it around here. Okay. So I just have it like this so I can make sure that I see. We wanna make sure that they're attached and that air will be able to come in through here and in through there still, okay? So we don't wanna cover those holes, we just wanna make sure that they're attached. Right. Okay. And then we wanna try and make sure that no air, outside air, will be able to get in through these little openings around here. We wanna make sure that if it comes right in, it won't be escaping out the sides or anything, okay? So you wanna make sure that that sticky tack is on there good. Okay, this is gonna be what the end result is, by the way. I don't know, I forgot to show you guys this.
Okay, somebody has a question.
Oh, Darren, do you have a question? You can't see? It won't work to try turning.
You guys, you can still go back on YouTube channel to finish up later.
Yeah, because we're having some issues. It's kind of just freezing and unfreezing. So you might have to go back to the YouTube video after to take a look. But we could try and get that uploaded soon.
And we're almost like out of time.
Yeah.
So sorry for that, guys.
So now what I'm going to do is I have Jeremy here beside me. I'm going to get him to help me cut the balloons. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut almost
Tom has
not.
a question.
Oh, Tom, you have a question?
Okay, I'm gonna unmute you, Tom. There you go.
No, that's good. Just make sure that these little parts, like the bottom pieces, are a little bit shorter because those tubes aren't very long when they go into the lungs. Your windpipe is pretty long because it's going all the way from your mouth down into your, into your abdomen area or into your chest area. So that part's pretty long, and then these parts are just pretty short because they're just kind of extending a little bit into your lungs, okay? You can cut them actually a little bit shorter. You can cut a little bit off the ends there. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That works. So then what we're gonna do is with the balloon, we're gonna cut a little bit of the top off. So Jeremy, go ahead. I just have Jeremy helping me here. A little bit more, cut a little bit more off. Yeah, go ahead. Perfect. So now we have this, okay? So we just cut the top of the balloon off. And we're gonna do that for 2 balloons because these are your lungs. This is, oh, let's see if we can, yeah, go ahead. I don't know if they can see. Right here, perfect. Nope. Yeah. Here, come this way. Oh, up. There we go, perfect. I'm just trying to make sure that you guys can see this on camera, sorry. Perfect. So now you've got these 2 balloons, and these are your lungs. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take your lungs and we are going to tape them.
Lungs.
Okay, so we tape them there for both of them. Perfect. And again, we want to make sure that no air is going to be able to escape, okay? That's the important part. So we are going to test them out first. So the way to test them is you can either push the air out of the balloons, and if you hear it come up your straw or your windpipe, then you know that that there's no escapes for the air. Another way to test it is if you blow into your straw and the lungs fill up with air, then you know that there are no openings for anything to escape, okay? So that's how I'm testing it, so blowing into it. Yeah, you could tape them on. So then you blow in and out in those straws, and if they're filling up and deflating, then you know your lungs are working right. So you guys can see that, right? So now what we're gonna do is before we put our lungs into our body, I'm taking the other part of the sticky tack, okay? And we need to spread it out enough that it will kind of fit around there, but we're not gonna put it on yet, okay? And we're gonna put a little hole in the middle. I'm just using a pen, but you can use your finger. So I'm putting a little hole in the middle because we are gonna put this around your straw, okay? I'm gonna put it on there and make sure that it's nice and tight around there so that no air is getting out, because that is very important to make sure that this model of the lungs works right, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I am going to squeeze everything together, and I'm going to, well, what you can do is, you don't have to stick this part on yet actually. It'll be easier to put the lungs through the bottom into the body. So now I have them sitting in there, and I'm going to put the other sticky tack over top, and we are going to secure it to there. And again, you want to make sure that no sticky tack or no air is coming out, and the sticky tack is attached to that straw really good, okay? Make sure there are no openings. And then you can test this by blowing into your bottle, okay? Or just pushing on the balloons to see if air is exiting it, and then you know it's good. How's everybody doing so far? Is it going good? All right, I see some thumbs up, that's good. Oh, a thumbs down from Tom. Let's unmute Tom. What do you need help with? What's up? No? You might just have to try it a couple times to get it right. The first time that I made the model, it took me a little bit to try and make sure everything was stuck together good and working. It's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. This is my second time making it, so I've gotten pretty good at it. So it might just take a little bit of fidgeting, Tom, to get it right. You're just gonna have to play with it a little bit. Yeah, well, that's okay. If you have to redo it, then you can go back and watch the YouTube video. You can kind of just watch what we're doing right now and follow along. So it looks like everybody is kind of catching up here. Yeah, that's good. So now, this is the diaphragm we're gonna make, okay? So the diaphragm is what works with the lungs to help with breathing. And we're gonna see if the diaphragm moves up or down when the lungs fill with air and deflate. And we had Dennis and Jeremy guess that when the lungs fill up with air, the diaphragm moves up. So we're gonna put that to the test, okay? So now, with the balloon, we're just gonna cut a little bit of the top off. Not too much,
Bottom.
but maybe just a little bit less than half, okay? So we're gonna have Jeremy, yeah, go ahead, cut it straight line. Go ahead, keep going. Whoop. Go ahead, one big, there we go, perfect. So it should look like this, okay? And we're gonna tie the bottom because we need to make sure that when we attach this balloon to the bottle, no air will be escaping the inside. There we go. Perfect. And we're gonna make sure that our lungs are deflated on the inside of the bottle. And then we're gonna take our balloon and we're gonna wrap it around the bottle, okay? I just have to put mine between my knees to do this. Oop.
So they can't see that.
Yeah, sure. Perfect. So now I have it around here. See? So this is our diaphragm. I'm just gonna tape it on there really good so that we don't have any air escaping from the inside of the bottle and so that it doesn't come off when we're moving the diaphragm. Okay, so I think mine's on there good. So while we're waiting for some of you guys to catch up, so this is your trachea, your windpipe. So the air comes in from your mouth into your trachea or your windpipe, goes down into your bronchus, which is where it branches out, into your bronchi, and those parts are inside of your lungs, and then into the bronchioles as well. And then we have our lungs here, and then this bottom balloon is our diaphragm. So Jeremy and Dennis's guess is that when the lungs inflate, so when you take in a big breath of air, your diaphragm moves up. So we're gonna test that, okay? So we are gonna move our diaphragm up, push it into your balloon. Now what do you see, guys? Are your lungs inflated or deflated? They're actually deflated. So when your diaphragm moves up, your lungs actually deflate, which means that when your diaphragm moves up and it relaxes, you actually have no air in your lungs. So when you take in a big breath of air, your diaphragm is actually moving down. Okay? Do you guys see that? So when you take in a big breath of air, your diaphragm moves down. And when you exhale, your diaphragm moves up. So you can kind of try that here. Diaphragm moving down, up, down, up, down, up. So when you take in a breath of air, your diaphragm's down. When you exhale, your diaphragm's in. And you guys can kind of move this up and down, and you guys can kind of understand how it works and see how all the parts work together. So this is kind of what it looks like inside your body, which is kind of cool, hey? Now you can kind of see exactly how it works. So while you guys are still putting that together, I have a couple facts about the lungs and the respiratory system, okay? How much time do we have?
We don't have any. 6 minutes.
6 minutes? Oh, we've got time, okay. So, here's a fact. Your lungs actually aren't the same size. So, you know how our heart is on the left side of our body? So our left lung is actually a little bit smaller than our right lung because it needs to be because of the heart being there, okay? Another fact is that children and women actually breathe faster than men, which is kind of interesting. Okay? So if you think about this, adults take 15 to 20 breaths a minute. So we don't even think about breathing. We don't even pay attention to that really, right? Because breathing just happens without us thinking about it. So every minute we're taking 15 to 20 breaths, which if you think about how many breaths that is in a day, it's 20,000 breaths a day.
Jesus.
So we are taking in 20,000 breaths every single day, which is kind of crazy because we don't even pay attention to that kind of stuff. So another cool thing, so I just mentioned that we don't think about breathing. So breathing is actually automatic. So we do it subconsciously, which means we do it without even realizing that we're doing it, okay? And there's a part of your brain, it's called the medulla oblongata, which is kind of a funny word. The medulla oblongata. Try saying that 10 times fast. Medulla oblongata, medulla oblongata, medulla oblongata. I couldn't do it. Kind of like a tongue twister. But that's the part of the brain that actually makes breathing happen. So it helps you breathe without even realizing that you're doing it. So even though breathing happens without us thinking about it, we can control our breathing, okay? So if you think about it, when we're swimming, we control our breathing because we hold our breath underwater, right? When we're singing, we can control our breathing because if we're doing a dragged out note for a long time while we're singing, like an ah, we're not taking a breath while we're doing that, right? When we're making speeches, like while we're talking, we can control when we're breathing. We can take pauses to breathe. Like while I'm talking, I take pauses to breathe. And when we practice deep breathing exercises, we can control our breathing as well. So even though breathing happens without us thinking about it, there are lots of situations in which we do actually control our breathing. So when we exhale, when we breathe out, we actually get rid of waste in our body. So all the things in our body that we don't need, that aren't important to us, or like aren't important for functioning. And we get rid of water. So we actually get rid of water from inside our bodies through breathing as well. So we don't take water into our lungs, but we can expel water from our lungs, which is kind of cool. So if you think about it, when we yawn, we take in a big breath as well. And we think that we're yawning because we're tired, but when we're yawning, it's not actually always because we're tired. That's our body, or that's our brain's way of telling our body that we need more oxygen in our body. So we'll actually yawn because our brain is saying, hey, I need more oxygen. Take in more oxygen. Which is kind of cool because we don't really think about the science behind a yawn, right? We just think we're yawning because we're tired, but there is actually a purpose for yawning, and that's the purpose. Our brain saying, I need more oxygen, give me more oxygen. So I have a question here for you guys. We're gonna unmute you here. We have like a minute left, okay? Can anybody, you can put your hands up. Can anybody tell me how we can keep our lungs healthy? What are some ways that we can keep our lungs healthy? Do you guys have any ideas? Derek? Go ahead, Derek. Derek? You can answer, Derek. Do you have any ideas how you keep your lungs healthy? Yeah. Can you hear me, Derek? Yeah, you're very right. So staying hydrated is a very good way of keeping our lungs healthy. That's why it's very important to stay hydrated. Our body needs that to keep our lungs healthy. Do you guys have any other ideas of how we can keep our lungs healthy?
Jenna has.
Jenna, you have an answer? How can we keep our lungs healthy, Jenna? Another way is deep breathing. So practicing deep breathing exercises. So you know how we take in like yoga, for example, you take a big breath into your lungs and you breathe out through your nose. So when you're actually practicing controlling your breathing, it's very good for your lungs. Kaylee, do you have a way of how we keep our lungs healthy? Yeah, exactly. So not smoking is a good way to keep your lungs healthy, right? So there's one last one. Does anybody know how else we can keep our lungs healthy? What's something we should be doing on a regular basis? Exercising, right? So exercising keeps your lungs very, very healthy as well. So those are some very important ways to keep your lungs healthy. So we only have 1 minute left. We're almost out of time here. So I hope you guys enjoyed our anatomy class. I thought this was a lot of fun. I think it was cool that we got to make a model. What do you guys think? Was that fun? Yeah, you enjoyed that? Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Gentile now. So we'll talk to you guys later. I'll see you at 1 o'clock, okay?